Hi,
Hey.
welcome to our living room.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a couple of videos on before the high holidays, after high holidays, discussion revolving around what the main themes are of this time of year from I suppose, the Jewish perspective.
All right, I'll go first.
Go for it.
So what I was thinking about is that now after the summer holidays, people are starting their new year. And what's coming up a lot in speeches and in the theme, like what you said, the theme of the year right now is
This
teshuvah.
is like a popular time to go to synagogue as well.
Yes. And what everybody's talking about is repentance, teshuvah, self-reflection, and kind of like looking at what's wrong with you, trying to make it better. What I've seen is a lot of people recoil from these kind of thoughts. They don't want to look at what's wrong with them. They're having a hard enough time fitting into where they are right now anyway. It's not a comfortable thing.
Focusing on the bad.
Focusing on the bad. So I'd like to discuss one type of thinking that can potentially help. And for me, it changed everything around. The whole concept of teshuvah is completely different. And when you then look at the sources, and you then actually look at what you're praying on Rosh Hashanah, you see it all fits together.
Like a sort of prism to look at the days through. Like a paradigm that you can then use.
A paradigm, yes, a paradigm. That's
Okay.
it. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So what I've read in a book called, which I recommend to everybody, it's called God Winked. If you see it anywhere, just pick it up because I love it. Is called the Shrek fallacy.
Okay.
Because if you know Shrek, when he and Donkey were walking towards saving Princess, he tries to explain himself to Donkey and he says, ogres are like onions. Onions have layers, ogres have layers. Okay, what do you think that means?
That people have layers. They have their persona, their parts of their personality they display to the world.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't want everybody just to think that he is a green fighting machine.
There's layers.
He has layers, he's sensitive, he's deep, he doesn't just kill, right?
Okay.
And we also do, like what you just said. We have our layer that we show to everybody, that the bus driver sees, and we have a layer that our best friend sees. And that's right.
So the analogy works.
Yes, however, it doesn't. So she calls it the Shrek fallacy, because it is something that very much can hinder you from even stepping foot into teshuvah, into repentance. How so? It's because if you look at an onion and you peel 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 until you get that little bundle, and you peel some more, what do you get?
More onion.
Right past the onion.
Nothing.
Okay, nothing. Bringing that comparison to humanity, however, to a person, is lethal. Because if we consider ourselves just, emphasis on just, the sum total of our actions and our thoughts and our deeds, no matter how private and meaningful they may be, if we are just the sum total of those actions and processes that go on inside us, and there's nothing more intrinsic there.
You mean if you go through the personality, character traits, talents, and and all these components make up what essentially is you.
Exactly, and there is nothing else. Then, if you tell someone, okay, repentance, now take this chunk that is you and kind of want to throw it out, people don't want to do that.
So like the multiplicity of what makes up your personality defines you.
Yeah, so imagine if you're that puzzle piece, if you're that puzzle, and some of those puzzle pieces are rotten, but you are that puzzle. For someone to tell you, oh, take 5 puzzle pieces and throw them out the window. Hello?
That's who you are.
It's me. Are you kidding me? That's huge. However, so you're saying, but if the analogy works, then isn't that what we're doing? So the answer is no. In Judaism, underneath all those layers of onions, there isn't nothing. There is this spark of divinity, this neshama, the soul, that is untarnished, infinite, and pure. Nothing can tarnish it, no matter how bad your deeds are. And that knowledge, if you unpeel that onion and there's this everlasting spark in there, that's really you. So what you're doing with teshuvah is not taking part of you and saying, this intrinsic part of me is bad. That's horrible for your self-confidence. Rather, that was never me. That's dirty curtains of the real me, the soul me. And I am just looking at the actions around the soul and seeing if they are befitting to the soul, to the real me. So it's self-affirming rather than self-breaking down. It's empowering rather than paralyzing. Because you're saying these actions are beneath me. Not, oh, they're bad, I'm bad. They're beneath me.
So, okay, so then maybe I'll put it over and you tell me if I'm...
Go for it.
So you had the fallacy, which you're saying is not the case when it comes to us. When you break down the external parts of us, they're really there's a spark of divinity at the middle, and that spark of divinity is what defines us as human beings. And that is the true us. And the external actions or external parts of our personality, but then you've got a problem. What about, I mean, there are parts of my personality which I wouldn't think are perfect, but what about the personality parts of my personality that I do identify with?
Amazing.
Are they part of me?
Well, do I identify them for a noble cause, or are they bad? But do you identify
noble
them?
parts of me. Parts of me that I'm proud of.
Amazing.
But then how's that in connection to this
spark? A king who has a personality and the spark of a king. He's born a king and he's a good leader. And he's wearing the crown. Shouldn't he be proud of his crown? Of course. It reflects his kingly personality. But if he has a patch of dirt on his collar, he's not going to be proud of that. It doesn't reflect the king.
So maybe we could say that the noble moral parts of who you are an extension of what that means to be a piece of the divine.
100%.
Maybe we could say that it's a reflection of what we mean by this divine potential. This, at the very root, when we talk about like equality, for example, equality has different manifestations, but in a way that we are all equal is our ability to use this, I suppose you could call it, in our own way. I suppose the beauty about it is it manifests itself differently.
Everybody has their own mission.
But we are all equal in terms of that we have this potential to act morally, to be able to choose, to make that decision to do what's right or what's wrong. When we choose to do what's right, I suppose you could say you are reflecting that part of you. When you choose to do that which is wrong, or as you called it, a patch, you're not reflecting the true, I suppose, essential part of you.
So, like, for example, a child, you'd be proud of a child for doing little things that are good, but then when the child gets older and their potential grows, you want the child to be even more noble. Not just, sharing a cookie, but maybe, earning a livelihood and making something out of himself.
And the only legitimate way that we actually judge people is when we condemn the criminal and praise the saint.
Okay. What does that mean?
Based off this idea of potential.
Based on this, okay, so you're saying that if someone was only the amalgamation of their actions and their thoughts, then if someone just came from a bad place and just continues the bad, then that's all there is.
If there's no locus of control in terms of this potential, this divine spark.
If there would be no use you telling the criminal you could have done better. If he could never have done better.
Because he is his external components.
That's right. If there would never have been any other potential. Okay, you're using what I called soul and spark, you're calling potential.
I'm calling it, we'll call it the...
Divine potential.
The free will of an individual.
Okay, fine.
Because that is the potential. That is the divine spark.
Okay, fine.
What else? You can use, there's many different ways of describing it. But yeah, I suppose, and if a person didn't have that, then he was simply the externalities of
Then you could never condemn a criminal, because what do you expect?
So my point about when we talk about people being equal, in a way we are often referring to our ability to make the decision in our lives. Without that decision, we don't really...
What do you mean people equal? Some people are rich, some people are poor.
Not in terms of how people's lives manifest themselves. When we say we are equal, a way of referring to equality in this realm is that we believe we all have the ability to choose. That's why when a person does something wrong, we condemn him. When a person does something right, we praise him. That only makes sense if this thing in the middle...
It's interesting what you're saying historically. Because, okay, people might have an issue with some people being rich and people poor, but that's not where huge revolutions have come about. But huge revolutions have come about when people were obviously able to choose, but weren't given the right to do so. For example, women voting. Black people having the right just like other citizens. They were able to choose and have this potential just like everybody else, but they weren't given the right to do so. Hence, Hence,
and also revolutions come when people see injustice being done. When people recognize people using their, let's call it the potential, for wrong.
Right. Interesting.
You want to sum up?
Sure. To sum up, a fear. Let's call it a fear. People recoil from repentance because they think that they're going to have to break themselves down. They're going to have to take what's essentially part of them, throw it out of the window, and make themselves anew. Rather, what Judaism is saying is that you're pure. You have this endless potential. Look at your life and see the things that really affirm your potential, and see the things that are actually maybe against your potential, maybe depriving you of your energy for good things, maybe being self-harming or other harming, something that is beneath you. Not something that's just simply wrong, but beneath you. The word beneath you is so empowering because it shows that you're above, right? That way, it's an empowering way to do teshuvah. And what you just now said was that this is actually the whole basis on equality and choice, because without this, if you were just an amalgamation of your thoughts and actions, then who's ever to say that you could ever be more or less?
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.